All right. Hey, Tom. Thank you, Tom. It was nice to have Tom at youth camp this year, and he did that every time. It's perfect. All right. Can you guys hear me in the back if I talk about this level? Good enough? A little bit? Okay, I'll try and project a little bit. It would, hey, Nicole, you're going to have to be quiet so they can hear me back there. Okay, just kidding. Hey, thanks for coming here. Thanks for being here. That's Nicole. She's a friend of mine. We're just joking. Not anymore. All right, well, we're going to go and get started. Thanks for being here this week. Thanks for coming to the sessions tonight. I hope and pray that they are meaningful for you and that they are beneficial to your family. I'm going to kind of tell you how this is going to go. I'm going to kind of present some stuff to you. We'll talk a little bit, and by all means, if you have a question or a comment, that's fine. But we really need to hold off that to the end. We're recording this, and so we're wanting to make this available, and we don't want somebody to ask a question that might be personal or something like that. I don't know if we'll get into that or not, but we want to be able to kind of hold off that at the end. I'll stop the recording. We'll be able to interact and have some questions if that's okay with you. So if you have a question, by all means, you can stop me if it has to do with what we're talking about. But if you have a personal story or you want to share something, let me know that. That's fine. I can hit stop and then record again. I just don't want to have to cancel the whole thing because we can't really put that on our website or anything. Okay, so that's why we're doing it that way. So, we're at the top here. Technology, everyday stuff to put it in its place. Now, if you showed up tonight to this session hoping that it would be something like, I'm going to teach you how to use Instagram or Snapchat or how to do technology, you'll be happy to know that I'm not very technological myself, okay? I'm somewhat, but tonight Connor had to set this stuff up for me, kind of, okay? So I couldn't figure out how to make this widescreen, and he did. And we were laughing about how I'm going to teach a class on technology, and I can't even do that. So this is not an informative class on how to do technology. Basically, what I am is I'm a parent, and like many of you, and I work with teenagers, like some of you as well, or you have teenagers. And so what I know is that technology is huge in our culture, and I do know a little bit about that. And I hope that I'm informative and can bring you some information tonight. Right off the bat, I want to recommend a couple books to you. These are both in if you got a packet last night, or a bag. These two books, I've read them, and it took me about an hour to read each one, and they're just very, very helpful. So a lot of what we're talking about tonight comes from this book called The Tech Wise Family by Andy Crouch. Fantastic little book. Takes little time to read. A lot of very good information that we don't have enough time to go into in 45 minutes. So I picked and pulled some stuff from that, but I recommend that to you. You can get that on Amazon for like $12. If you don't have any money, you want to borrow mine, that's fine. But this is also a really good one. It's called Right Click. It's by Kara Powell. Kara Powell is from Fuller Youth Institute, and unbelievable. She's fantastic when it comes to how to use technology in the home. And so she's a parent herself. She's a youth worker, and she's fantastic. So I recommend those books to you tonight. My goal tonight is, I hope by the end of the session, is that to give you a couple things. One is I don't want you to fear technology, okay? And two, I want you to see that technology can actually be really good. And if you will be open to it, you can actually leverage technology for greater good. So that's kind of what I'm hoping. I want this to be a positive thing. Because we can come in here with a lot of doom and gloom. And woe is me, we cannot raise kids in this culture. It is crazy what's going on out there. And we can easily talk about all the negative stuff, but we'd be missing really, really good stuff about where we live and why we're living in this time. So I want to be positive in the stuff we're going to talk about tonight. And we're going to get into some very practical steps on things that you can do tonight even, and with your family this next week. So that's kind of the plan. Is we'll start with some stuff I just want to say, and then we'll get into some practical things that you can do in your home to put technology in its place. So right from the very top, here's why I want to make sure we understand a few things. First one is this. We need to have a positive outlook, okay? When we view technology, we need to have a positive outlook. So to start, just around the room, what are some things, think about something technology, okay, that is awesome that it was invented. You're just like, thank God that we have this. Shout about what? Maps. Okay, that's good. We've had those for a few centuries, but they've gotten better. Okay. Family calendars. That's a good invention. Okay. Okay, well, we're getting into Facebook. Now, some would disagree that that's a great thing or not. We'll talk about that. Okay, your iPhone. What else? GPS. Amen. I'm terrible at directions.
FaceTime. That's what I want to say.
FaceTime. Okay, that's a blessing, right? MLB TV. It's nice, right? If you don't, well, isn't that cool? You can watch something from the comfort of your home that's happening hundreds and hundreds of miles away live. It's great. I'm even thinking more practical. What about air conditioning? Okay. What about automobiles? What about airplanes? Right? Things that we live and we have today are things that our great-grandparents dreamed about. Right? We live in a unique age. And these are all things that are good. I mean, I think about flying an airplane 250 years ago or so. That wasn't even nobody could do that. You couldn't do that. Now we're sending west to Madagascar to visit his kids. Okay? And so we live in a technological world, and it's a good thing. Okay? It's not all doom and gloom. There's some great benefits to where and when we live. But I know you didn't sign up this session to talk about your concern about your family and airplanes or air conditioning. Okay? That's not the reason you came in here. I think you're the reason you signed up for this, and the reason why our Family Week team thought that this was important is because you're concerned about, I think, 4 things. I think you're concerned about the internet. Okay? I think you're concerned about cell phones. I think you're concerned about social media. Okay? And I think you're concerned about just general screen time with your kids. Now, I have kids myself. They're in the elementary phase, and I would attend this session if I wasn't teaching it. And actually, since I'm teaching it, I've learned a lot. But my concern is my kids will not stop whining about wanting to watch movies. You know? Are you there? You been there? I'm bored. I want to watch this. Can I have your phone? Right? This is a normal day of life for people nowadays that have elementary kids. And if you're a grandparent as well, right? It's just, that's the reason you're in here. And so before we get to those issues, we have to just kind of, even when we talk about those 4 things, we have to realize that we can't have a doom and gloom attitude with this. We have to see a positive outlook on this. So just last night I was thinking about this when I was driving home. And I thought about Jeremiah 29:11. You guys know that verse? For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, you hope in the future. It's very popular for like graduation gifts, graduation cards. I got a plaque when I graduated high school, had that on it. And I thought, wow, God really he's got a plan for me. And that's what that verse meant. Jeremiah was writing that to Nate Jones because God has a plan for me. Can I tell you it's not a graduation verse? Okay? And it's not meant to do that. Can I tell you the story behind that? Basically, God sent his people into exile. And they were in Babylon. Okay? And so here's the scripture for you. I'm going to read. Here's up here if you can read it. It's kind of small. Here's Jeremiah 29:4-11. Okay? So you need to see what's happening before it says, I know the plans I have for you. Here's what it says. It says, thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, to all the exiled whom I have sent into exile from Jerusalem to Babylon. Notice that it says that he sent. So in the culture we live in and all the technology, if it's all doom and gloom, we have to understand that God has ordained this time. Okay? He has sent us into this time. You are alive at this time, just like he sent them into Babylon. He says this, run for the hills, hide, escape, stay away. Is that what he says? No. Just build houses and live in them. Now, the Babylonians were evil, pagan people. And he says build houses among them. Not run, not be afraid. Build houses, live in them, plant gardens and eat their produce. Take wives and have sons and daughters, multiply there and do not decrease, but seek the welfare of the city where I have sent you in exile. Isn't that crazy? Seek the welfare of Babylon. Because I sent you there, and pray the Lord on its behalf, for in its welfare you will find your welfare. Do not let your prophets who are among you deceive you, and do not listen to their dreams that they dream, for it is a lie that they are prophesying to my name. Basically saying, the prophets who are saying, stay away, don't use the internet, run, don't see movies, never engage culture, let's just wear these clothes and never use electricity. Okay, sorry if you have that background. But he's saying don't do that, because those prophets that are saying that that's my will, I didn't send them. So don't listen to them. They're lying to you. Why? For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. I'll give you hope in the future. So just calm down, be positive, and I've sent you in this time. Okay? So if we can have that attitude when we engage this with a positivity of, okay, God has ordained this, we're alive at this time, and it's going to be okay. Okay? Then we can approach this in a good attitude. Okay? So can we agree that let's try not to run from the technology that's in the world? I know we got to have boundaries. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but I don't think the answer to technology is to just shut it all off, never own a phone, never let your kids have a social media account, never let your kids go on the internet. Because I'm going to tell you, you do that, they're going to do it anyways. And what's going to happen is that your kids are going to do it behind your back. Okay? And what you think you're sheltering them from, you're actually driving a wedge between you and them, and you'll no longer be able to have a communication at all between you and your kids. So we have to be able to live in this culture, figure out boundaries without just shunning everything. Okay? And we have to figure out how to do that. I was reading this last week that medieval Jewish rabbis, they used to discourage people from reading Song of Solomon until they were 30 years old because of all the sexual overtones. Don't you wish that was our problem? Like, just 30 years old, don't read Song of Solomon. That was it. Okay? We don't have that problem. Ours are different. Okay? But we need to learn to be a student of our culture. We got to say, okay, that was medieval Jewish times. That's what they dealt with. This is what we deal with today. And we got to learn to be a student of these things. The easy thing would say to see something scary and say, shut it off and just turn away. The more mature thing is say, this is what it is. Let's learn to, like Jim said last night, let's learn to bounce our eyes. Let's learn to live in this without totally shunning it or staying totally away from it. We got to learn to live in this, okay? So that's the first thing I want to make sure we understand at the very, very beginning. So we have a positive outlook on things. Isn't that nice little technology, little thing? I did that. Next one is this. Look in the mirror. Okay, look in the mirror. Just remember this. Our generation, you and me, we're the ones that created the internet. Okay? We're the ones that created social media, cell phones. So don't be quick to blame our kids for being addicted to these things that we created. Okay? We're quick to say, these kids nowadays, them and their gadgets, they just can't seem to stay away from them. We invented them. You invented them. See, we had a demand for this, and our generation demanded this, and our kids are just using what we've demanded. Okay? So it's good to kind of reflect and be like, wait, I own some of this as well. Also, remember, our kids learn their habits from us. Everything your kid does is learned. And a lot of what they learned, from we heard from Jim last night, is from you. So we have to be quick to turn the mirror back on us and say, you know what? My kid's addicted to this device. I am too. Because they're learning it from me. Okay? So we need to make sure we're not just always blaming the culture, always blaming our kids, always blaming those teenagers. Okay? When in reality, it's a lot of what we've taught them. Okay? And here's another cool thing, though. We are a unique generation, okay? Think about this. No generation that has ever existed or ever will exist will be encountering what you and I are encountering right now. See, if you were born before 1985, you remember when there was no internet. And now you're living where there is only internet. You're the only generation that's ever existed that has lived in that world, like the Encyclopedia Britannica world, and the world where somebody Googles and can get every answer for a research paper. You and I are the only generation that's ever existed that has figured out, wait, we used to do this, and now we have this. Our kids, they only know Google. Our grandparents, they only know encyclopedias. You and I are in this bilingual world. We are able to be this translator between the older generation and the younger, because we remember what it's like, and we know what it's like now. It's unique. It's fantastic. It's a crazy thing to think about. Of all of God's creation, you are in a unique time. Okay? So if you feel like you're a trailblazer, you feel like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like a failure. I can't get this. My kids are addicted to this. I can't get them off the cell phone. I don't know what to do. You're okay, because you are a trailblazer. There's no books written on this. You know how we're going to figure out how to get through this? You're going to have to write the books. You're going to have to figure out how to parent in this, because nobody's ever done it. Okay? So it's okay to try and stumble through this and try and figure it out. Okay? So that's what we got to do. We got to figure it out. Starts with us, though. We have to set the example for our kids. And number 3 is this. We need to learn to study the culture. We got to start understanding what our kids are growing up in. And remember that this is all our kids know. They've only known social media. My kid, Kingston, has never lived a minute of his life where there wasn't the ability to swipe on a screen. He's never lived in that, okay? He's never lived in a time where you had to go look something up in a library. He's never done that, okay? So I got to be careful how I engage his culture, demanding that they step back into the 80s and 90s, that was good and now is bad, and somehow blaming them for that. We have to understand their culture, which means me and you have to do the learning. We have to try and figure out, okay, I don't understand what this face Twitter thing is, or this, some people snap tweet. What is that? Okay, we don't understand it. What we need to do is, we need to learn to figure out what's going on. We need to ask questions. And can I tell you something? The best way is not to Google what a tweet is. Okay? That could be dangerous, actually. You never know what somebody puts out there. Let me tell you the best way to find out what a teenager is thinking and how to use something. You know what it is? Ask them. It's stepping back into normal communication and ask a teenager. You might just have to ask your kid. And do you know what happens when you ask a 14-year-old kid to help you with something? It's more than just them giving you information and you learn it. What happens is, think of how that builds up that 14-year-old. Where somebody's saying, I think you have some knowledge that you could teach me. Okay? If you don't believe me, ask a kid to come help you set up a Wi-Fi router in your house. They will love to do that because they feel like they know something you don't. And I know this doesn't change because about 3 weeks ago, me and Teresa went over to my parents' house. I'm not a great technological guy, but I set up my parents on YouTube TV, and we cut the cord on DirecTV. And my parents fed us, and they were just so elated. They were saving about $100 a month. And I felt like, wow, I taught my dad something. And it just put wind in my sails. So if you want to know about youth culture, the best thing to do is actually ask a youth, hey, why do you Snapchat? I mean, I hear about it, and they might be like, Mom, so embarrassing. For one, don't do it on social media. Don't face tweet to somebody and say, hey, somebody explain to me Snapchat. And don't do it in front of their friends, okay? Don't embarrass them. But when they're at home, whatever, be like, hey, I'm trying to understand the Snapchat thing. Can you explain it to me? And they might be like, Mom, you're so embarrassing. It's just dumb. I don't want to tell you. They do. Okay? They might just kind of have that, I'm too cool for you, Mom. But I guarantee you, they kind of like it. Kids like dorky, okay? Don't try and be that cool parent that you have to fit in with their friends. I've tried it. It doesn't work because you're still dad, right? So ask the kids that. Understand their culture. Understand this. Texting is the number one form of communication for teenagers between 13 and 18. It's the number one way they talk. Number one. More than face-to-face communication, they text. And what do? We tell them they can't text. Put that down. Stop doing that. What we're doing is we're cutting off communication for teenagers. Teenagers don't hear, we need to be off the screen. They hear, don't talk to anybody. So we got to understand that texting to a teenager is not like us. We just want quick information. They're actually building relationships. And so when we say no texting, we're actually saying no relationships. And so we have to kind of understand kids a little bit. Understand why they do that. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have boundaries. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we need to start understanding and looking into their culture. So don't run from technology or call it evil. See the potential that it can bring. Some of the most deep conversations I've had with teenagers about Christianity has been through texting. Because they don't feel comfortable to come and talking to a pastor at church. But they'll text and ask me deep theological questions. Okay? Maybe some of your deep conversations have been through text too, especially with young people. It's just the way they communicate. All right? So, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to have Teresa come do this. Where are you at? Can you pass these out for me? So I have a timeline here where I want to go through with you, and I have a big one here. I shouldn't think you would all be able to read that. So I got a little printout, not a little printout. It's one that you can actually read, though. We're going to go through this, and I hope that this will serve as kind of like a step-by-step or some help, very practical things that I think will help you in technology in your family. Now, what this is, I did not write this, okay? So you're like, oh, wow, he really put this together. This is actually the curriculum we use here at our church. It's called Orange. And Orange is a strategy. It's not just curriculum like Sunday school curriculum. It actually has a strategy. These people have actually done studies on kids. And what they've done is they've kind of taken these phases and they divided them basically by ages, but also by groups. So you have your your preschool here represented by the tricycle, elementary by the bike, middle school, and high school. And the goal of Orange, the goal of this strategy is to take a kid from when they're born, by the time they graduate high school, that we're ready to send them off. Okay? So they've done all these studies, and they basically say, what is a kindergartner thinking? What questions are they asking? Okay? And so when it comes to technology, they have done this as well. And what they've done, and again, I want to preface this with a couple things. There might be something on here you might disagree with. Can I get one of those copies, Teresa? Are there any extras? Sure. I'd rather have one in hand. You might read some of this. You might be like, I don't necessarily totally agree, or we have a different thing. This is not gospel, okay? This is not necessarily biblical. These are just people who have said, we've researched this, and we've talked to a lot of parents, and this seems to be generally what we think works best. So I'm not saying that this is exactly what you need to do. You need to look, again, at the context. Again, what Jim said last night is exactly right. We at this church are to come alongside the parents, not the other way around. Okay, we want to say, here's some tools. You guys take what this means to your context and fit that in. Okay, so these are just helpful things, I think. Okay, so we're just going to kind of walk through some of these things on this sheet, and you can follow along on your sheet or up here. We're just going to kind of walk through some of these tips on if you have a preschool or an elementary, when you should start introducing technology. What are some boundaries you should set up that will probably keep them from the things we're all scared about? Okay? Now, let me just tell you this. I'm going to say this, because I talked to Teresa on this on the way home. I said, Teresa, does it scare you that Kingston's going to look at porn one day? And it's hard to think that, because you're like, not my kids. No, it's never going to happen. But it is, sadly. I wish it wasn't true, but he is. So we started talking about how we were going to handle that when it happens. We don't even know what's going to happen, but how are we going to handle that? And when you know that we can't totally protect our kids from everything, but if we can set up some things, some parameters that might help that not happen or not be as big of a dilemma in our family life, the better, okay? So, first off, so let's look at that 0 to 1. Let's look at this preschool age. Just kind of want to walk through it, and we'll highlight a couple of them. Number one is here, it says here, is use the tools, but don't be used by them, okay? This is a lot for you. If you have young kids, again, that preschool age, they're really watching what parents do. They're visual, so they're just watching. And you think, well, they're just babies. They don't really understand what's going on. But they're learning from an early age. I remember when Kingston was about 2, Jim mentioned last night, I remember there was a magazine, and he started trying to do that on the screen, on the magazine, just like a screen, okay? So they learn even at a young age. They're watching. So we need to make sure, even at that young age, if we have young kids, to not be used by those things. Let's go on. Connect to other adults. Remember, you're not alone. It's important. We need to have connection. And if you're, ask other adults, what are you doing with technology in your home with your young kids? Here's a good one. Take pictures. Just make sure you don't miss a real moment to capture a digital one. All of those photos you're going to take, you'll never look at again. Okay? Some of you take way too many photos. And you don't even post them. They're just on your phone. And a lot of times we're wasted because we're so busy trying to capture the moment that we miss the moment. So take pictures, but don't be so obsessed with taking pictures that you miss in the moment, okay? Especially in those first years. Begin to limit their screen time, especially with these young kids. I know it's hard maybe as a mom, or if you're staying home and dad's at work, or you're a single mom, or even a single dad, or wife's at work and you're alone with the kid. I've been there. It's just like, please, I'm so tired. Slept. Just watch VeggieTales, please. It's Christian, so it'll be good, right? So, it'll be fine. But we got to try and limit that screen time, because I look back and I'm kind of like, I'm glad Kingston watched The Letter Factory, but I kind of miss him being a baby sometimes, and I wish I could have some of that back, right? So don't, learn to limit that at that young age, especially. This is a good practical tip. Purchase the protection plan. It's hard to get Play-Doh out of the headset jack, right? So if you like your iPad, Do not give it to your 1-year-old, okay? Or your cell phone, or make sure, like Teresa always had, the OtterBox cover on her phone, right? Has some screen-free zones and screen-free times at home. We're starting to see this like 3- and 4-year-old time. Before the 1940s and 50s, the center of a home was a hearth. Some of you have hearths in your room or in your house. A hearth is basically the fireplace. Okay, but before the newer homes started being built, the hearth was the center of the home. In fact, the Latin word for hearth is focus, F-O-C-I-S. That's where we get our word focus. The hearth was the focus of the home. It's because that's where they stayed warm. That's where they conversed. That's where they ate. The fireplace. And if you've ever been to a campfire, what happens when you're sitting around with your friends? Everybody's just kind of staring at the fire. There's something about fire. It's like, it draws you in, right? I'm not like a pyrotech or anything. Fire is attractive, right? So the hearth became this. Well, what do we have now? TVs or central air and heat, right? The air is now not in one central location where everybody has to gather. It's now pushed throughout the house where we can go in my own room and it's the same temperature as down here, right? So it's just different now. But back then they had that. We have furnaces instead of hearths. And we have filled those places where we gather with technology. And again, that's not bad, but we've kind of focused everything. And so what I think great advice here is you need to have a place in your house where it's tech-free. And so I would ask you, where in your house, it's different for everybody, where is it in your house that, just naturally connection happens, like conversations happen? It's a place where, you just had more conversations with your kids. It's where everybody kind of tends to gravitate to. Take inventory, and you have that in your mind. Me and Teresa did this a few weeks ago. Take that in your mind. What is that place? And then take inventory of what's in that room. Okay? Because I envision mine, and ours is our kitchen. I don't know why, because we're not always eating in there. It's just we kind of gravitate to the kitchen area. It's kind of a middle area, and we all kind of sit there. We do eat dinners there, and so we do have a lot of conversations. But I started taking inventory of our kitchen. We don't have a TV in there, but our phones are always right there, and our computers are always right there. And so what me and Teresa decided to do when I talked to her about this was, why don't we make the kitchen a tech-free zone? It's not, we have to move furniture and all this kind of stuff. We have to take the TV off the wall. But let's make a commitment that let's try and make sure that our phones are not with us at dinner. Let's just do that. And that was me and her. Kids don't have phones. So this is a commitment me and her had to make. And so are we perfect at it? No. Because I noticed, honey, the computer's on the table today. I noticed that today. But my phone is always there too. And we're not perfect, but we've started to kind of be like, you know what? I could easily get on, because I like this baseball game, this app. I'm kind of addicted to this app where I play this baseball game. And I've noticed at times I'll be playing that at the table. And so I'm just like, you know what? I'm finding myself and I'm putting that away, that for a while my kids have a space where we can just talk. And so when we have dinners, we don't have our phones at the table. That's our place. So maybe that's something practically you can do. And I love that early on. Have a space in your house that's screen-free. Play online games together. The key there is together. See, what kids do is they tend to go play a game and they go off by themselves. Learn to play, most of you are older, Nintendo with your kids. Some of the most fun things that me and Kingston have done together is that we've played this one game where it's these cars and there's a soccer ball and the cars run and kick the soccer ball into the goals. And we laugh and have fun together. And that's something that's technology, but we're doing it together. And it's a memory we're making together, right? So maybe learn, even at that young age, 3 or 4 years old, learn to play these games together, online games even, okay? Let's go on to elementary age. Elementary age is this K through 5. With them, at this age, you really need to start beginning to create boundaries with some technology, okay? They're starting to kind of get used to this. How many of you have elementary kids in here? Okay, now it's made a thought, okay? I don't have my watch. There we go. We have 2 of them. So this is us right now. And so we have just started this establishing internet boundaries. And so me and Teresa have actually sat down with our kids and done exactly what they say here. Never Google alone. We actually sit down, we have a conversation. We say, hey, by the way, there's this internet thing. You've experienced that, but mostly apps. But I want to show you that there's places to search things. And when you do that, you will not search by yourself. Do you understand? We set boundaries with them, okay? Most of the time, they're just wanting to play their games, but they might actually hit a button or something like that. I want to make sure they know that, hey, if I hit that we need to go find mommy and daddy. Okay? So never Google alone. Teach them things. Most of the stuff's like on YouTube. If there's a video they want to watch or there's something they really want to look for, I think the key there is that you search it for them. You know? They want to watch a video. My daughter loves watching these weird videos of kids playing with dolls. It's really weird. But these kids are like millionaires because all these people are subscribing to their page. So I'm kind of hoping she likes it and starts a business. But she asked me just this last week, she said, Dad, when can I start my YouTube page? She's 6. And I don't know what Teresa said, but it was like never or something like that. So she's not going to start a YouTube page, but she loves watching YouTube. So what we do is we have, basically she searches for the same thing every time, but we just type in LOL doll surprises and she watches them, okay? So search those things for them. Don't just give them the iPad and let them search for whatever. You're asking for it, okay? Use technology to share things you enjoy. Share things like old school music videos. Now, this is a great one, okay? Some of the most fun me and Kingston have also had is searching for things that when I was a kid that was cool. So I searched for old video games. Well, I actually bought one of those old, it's not Nintendo, I think it was a Sega, and they have it's about this big, and it has about 100 old video games that I played when I was a kid. He loves them, okay? So use technology from when you were a kid. Be like, hey, let me show you this. Another idea that's fun is to take your phone and show pictures of when they were babies. We have videos of when Kingston was a baby, and Ruby loves watching those. Because that's Bubba when he's a baby. Oh, look at him, he's all fat, okay? It's fun. So again, technology can be this togetherness that you can do with your family, not something you should just totally run from, all right? Make technology social, play together, same kind of thing. I would suggest that if you have a computer, most of you have laptops, we don't really have desktops anymore, but if you do, make that a place that's public. I would suggest that you don't let a kid have a computer in their room. I would suggest that you don't let a teenager at any age have a computer in their room. And we'll get to that in a minute. And I would even suggest that I would not let your teenagers have a cell phone in their room at night. Because most pornography is watched while you're asleep. Okay? So we'll get to that in a few minutes. Establish rules for online sharing. Say things like, don't post your home address. We're going to hear about this Wednesday night when Russ Tuttle talks, because there are people who are actually fishing for people information. And your kids don't know it if they're just trying to be nice. But if they're on social media, they're on something, and they could give away some information, that could be a very, very scary thing. Okay? So especially at that age, you need to start having that conversation of, what's our address? What's our phone number? Okay, good. You never say that to anybody online. You never say that to anybody on anything on this device or on the phone. Okay? Any of your kids like into gaming? Mine aren't yet, but they're starting to kind of like it because they spend the night with some of your kids. Okay, gaming is huge. It's the next big thing. In fact, the newest social media device, like Snapchat, it's all about gaming. That's the new one. I can't even remember the name of it. It's that new. But gaming is the new thing. And when me and you play games like Mario, it was like we wanted to beat and get the princess. And we wanted to defeat the game. And we could go play a game by ourselves or with a friend, 2 players, Mario and Luigi, right? But now, kids don't play games alone. They play games online, and they're playing against people they've never met, okay? And it shows you, again, the reason they're playing games is not just to waste time. They're actually longing for connection, okay? So I would encourage them to play games, but you got to set some boundaries on that, okay? And just know that they're communicating with people. So be aware of that. And a lot of them are playing in their bedrooms at night. Again, same kind of thing. You just got to be careful and make sure you know what's going on with those online games. Stay curious, ask questions. That's a good one. Have you seen anything online that surprised you? But be careful if you ask that, okay? Because they might actually say something that surprised them, and you got to be able to be like, oh, okay, I didn't expect that. That's okay, that's good. What Jim talked about last night. But you need to be willing to have those conversations, okay? And follow recommended age limits. If your kid's kind of like, you know what, but I know it says 18 plus, but I'm like 12 and I can handle it, right? Really watch those. There's a reason why those companies put ages on there, because they're dangerous for those who aren't that age, okay? And that's even in the secular world where they're not thinking of a biblical worldview, okay? And last one there is talk about even at that 4th and 5th grade. Remember what Jim talked about last night? The average kid is seeing pornography by the time they're 11 years old. Well, guess what? That's about 5th, 6th grade. So that's why at that age, if you got a 4th and 5th grader, which I got a 4th grader next year, Teresa told me last night that I need to have that conversation soon. It's scary to think about, but you need to start, I need to begin to have that conversation with Kingston. If you got a 4th, 5th grade, you start possibly having that conversation of, I want to talk to you about something, okay? And talk to them about the dangers of pornography and not just that, but violence and watching videos that are violent. There's a draw there that they just are curious and they're wanting to see things. And so you just got to guide that. Warn them about strangers, contacting strangers, talking with people online. Those are the kind of things we need to warn them about. Okay, quickly on into middle school. How many middle school parents? Anybody? Middle school parents? Okay. Whew. God bless you. Okay. If you haven't done this yet, you need to tonight. Okay? If you haven't done these things, you need to start really thinking about this. This is not something that's ever too late to do, so don't worry, but it's never too soon. Okay? So you need to do these things. Have clear limits and expectations for mobile devices. Me and Teresa have talked a lot about this. What age should a child get a cell phone? Well, there's 18. There's different viewpoints on that. Because here's the deal. We've decided that 6th grade, because that's when we start youth group, and there's multiple reasons for that, for us personally. One is that all their friends, most of their friends are going to have that, and I want them to be able to communicate with their friends. I don't want them not to have any friends. So, and I know that if they don't, they're just going to hate us. So I want to have boundaries there. But for us, we've decided that Kingston will be 12 right at 13 when he goes to 6th grade. And that's when we're going to do that. But that might not be what you decide. Because now I've learned that schools, like teachers, are now texting students homework assignments and stuff like that. I don't know how I feel about that, but it's happening. Coaches for sports teams are coaching their kids. And so you need to look through your situation and say, texting or not, we need to look at cell phones for our kids. I'll tell you, and I'll hand this out at the very end, but the suggestion is that the magic number 13, that's what they say. The magic number 13 is the best time to do the cell phone thing. So you got to figure out that. They're going to start wanting social media things. I like this one. Script a response for when you find out something you weren't expecting. Something's going to happen you're not expecting. You need to start thinking about how you're going to respond to that. Because in the moment, if you respond right then, you're going to rip their head off. But if you can think about, I'm going to walk in and see Kingston look at something he shouldn't have, I need to think about how I'm going to respond in that moment. Take 10 seconds, breathe. It's going to be okay. And we talk. Okay? By the way, if you're a parent of 6th grader, and your kids start saying, I'm 12, I want a Facebook account. Here's an easy out for you. All of these social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, every single one of them, the law is that they cannot sign up for it unless they're 13. So let me give you a little tip. Instead of being like, nope, you can't. Mom, you never let me do anything fun. Okay? You can say, hey, the law says you cannot have one. So take it to Trump. Okay? If you want the law changed, you deal with it. All right? I'm all about that. Blame it on the government. Okay? Also this, watch out for helicopter parenting. It says that begin to set boundaries, but at the same time, give them a little bit of freedom. Because helicopter parenting can really drive a kid away. So be careful of that. There's a difference between supervision and surveillance, okay? So make sure you're not surveilling your kids, because they will pick up on that and they will not trust you with anything. And they'll go behind your back, like Jim talked about, set up a fake email account. And there's actually apps where they can buy an app that looks like a normal app, but it's actually something else. So if you set that up in your home of surveillance all the time, your kid's going to learn that, and they're smart. They know technology better than you do. They're going to figure it out. So I suggest the best thing to do is actually have a conversation and say, instead of surveilling them, that we're talking about these things, and there's more supervision, all right? I would let them know that you know the passwords, and that's a rule that we're going to have. We're going to know your passwords, and at any moment, we can check your device, okay? You don't like that? Well, then buy your own phone. But we bought it. We own it. We own all of the passwords. If we try and type in your password and it doesn't open, I'm keeping it. Okay? I'm not saying to check their diary, not checking everything, but you have a right to. It's yours, okay? So make sure they know that you know their passwords. Here's another one. It says here about pictures. You need to start reminding your kid or telling your kid that any picture that they post or posts that they make is now permanent for the rest of their lives. Okay? This guy's name is Dante DiVincenzo. You guys know him? This guy? He just won the national championship, March Madness, just this last year with Villanova. He was that most outstanding player for the tournament, okay? Got drafted high in the NBA draft. Right after the championship game, which he was a high scorer and won the game, a reporter, when he should be celebrating the fact that they just won the national championship and you're the MVP, do you know what the question was? Can you explain this tweet from 2012? And it was a racist tweet that he made from a rap song. And so the whole world, somebody got on his Twitter account and looked back 6 years at what he posted and brought it up to the whole world. Okay? You need to start telling your students that anything you post, because colleges, universities, jobs are now looking at their social media because it's a better tell of what kind of employee they're going to get. They've realized that kids can lie on applications all they want, but your social media doesn't lie. They're looking at it. So they need to be very careful, and you need to be very careful what you post. Yeah?
Wouldn't you recommend that conversation happen, like when they get their phone, when they have accounts that start, because...
Probably, but I would, yeah, I mean, I'm not, and I'm looking at this later on in the 7th, 8th grade when they're starting to maybe get an account of some kind. I would go ahead and remind them, hey, just remember what you put on there stays there. So be careful what you say on there. Yeah, but that is later on. But it is that later on middle school years. I wouldn't as a 6th grader, hey, you got your phone, hey, remember, but later on when you're starting to be a little more flexible with that kind of stuff, I would go ahead and inform them of that kind of stuff. Quickly, high school, not a lot here. You can read this. Give them some more freedom as they've shown some responsibility. Give them more freedom. Check in on social media less frequently. Hopefully, if you trust them, like Jim said last night, if there's a reason to check it, check it. If there's no reason to check it, then don't bother them and don't be annoying. By all means, please don't comment on their posts. I'm telling you, parents, don't. It just ruins the relationship. Okay, and I would, if I were you, if you got a high schooler, I would consider sharing the bill for the cell phone. Okay. Because I've done some premarital counseling, and it's amazing to me how many 24-year-olds I go over the budget with them, and their parents still pay for their cell phone. And you wonder why they're figuring out, we got to pay taxes? I would, as a 10th, 11th grader, realize, hey, and you don't have to say, hey, the bill is $120 a month, but heck, you're going to give us $10 a month. Because then you start learning that things cost. Remember, you're trying to train them up so when they leave, all right? Quickly, I got like 2 minutes here. So I'm going to go through this. I want to give you some real quick tips, okay? Tips for parents considering social media for their kids. First one is this, the magic number is 13, okay? I would stick with that because that's the law, okay? And I would talk with other parents. What are other parents saying? What are they doing with their social media? And third one is kind of listen to the doctors, okay? Listen to what the doctors say. The American Association of Pediatrics recommends keeping screen-free zones in the house, especially a young person's bedroom, as well as screen-free times like during meals. They also recommend just 1 to 2 hours of entertainment screen time per day and 0 screen time at all for children under 2 years old. That's the American Association of Pediatrics. Now, keep in mind, they're the ones that also tell you to brush your teeth 3 times a day and eat a healthy diet and exercise for 10 hours a day. Okay, so understand that. But just take it for what it's worth. Listen to what the doctors say because they probably have a little bit of experience. Okay? I want to tell you what me and Teresa did. You don't have to do this, but this is what me and Teresa wrote down for our digital agreement. We sat down with our kids 2 weeks ago and did this, and it was kind of fun. But this is what we came up with, all right? Here's what we said. They don't have cell phones, but the devices. The media devices are not yours. They are mom and dad's. We bought them, and therefore we control them. We will let you borrow them, but they are not yours to demand. And we made sure they understood that. No watching movies with doors closed is another rule we have. Let's watch more things together rather than separate. So it's been fun. I've been showing Kingston some old movies. We watched Nacho Libre together, which is really fun. We've watched Pee-wee's Big Adventure together. Sorry, it was my favorite movie growing up, so judge me all you want, but it's my favorite. Here's another one. No more watching movies in the car unless on our long road trip. What we were finding was we were driving like, can I have the phone? Can I watch a movie? We're like, no, stop. So we made the rule. No more. If we're going to Nolan Road campus, we're not driving 10 minutes and watching a movie. It's not happening. We're going to actually talk. And what I found is some of the best time you can communicate with your kids is in the car. Because they don't have anything to do. They're buckled in. They can't go anywhere. Talk. Okay? So we made that rule. Here's another one. No devices at the dinner table. But this is mainly for me and Teresa because they don't have devices. But we want to show them that we're going to eat and talk. And it's hard. It's not easy. They're eating really fast and not want to talk and answering quickly. But you know what? We're setting a standard there. And we're teaching them that, hey, we have time away from this. All right? And here's the big one we came up with. We have a media fast plan. And here's what it is. Every day for 1 hour, we don't have any devices on. And they can pick what hour that is. But they go up, they play the room, we play a game together, or we just sit and read. But for 1 hour a day, we don't have anything on, including mom and dad. Every month, we pick one day where we don't do anything. Maybe it's a Sunday. We just say 1 day a month, we're going to not do that. Okay? And Ruby was like, can we pick a day? It's really smart. Can we pick a day that we're all spend the night at our friend's house and we're there all day? Yeah, I guess so. Okay, whatever. And then every year we're going to take 1 week where we don't use any devices. Because we want to teach them that you don't have to have this to have fun. Okay? And that's the end of that there. Here's what I'm going to give you because it's just time. I'm sorry we don't have time to do some questions, but we'll all stick around if you have questions. But I want to pass out this one more thing, and I'll talk through it really quick. But I would suggest that you come up with a cell phone contract with your family. Okay? Especially if you have teenagers that are 6th grade and older, come up with a cell phone contract. I'm going to give you one. That's a suggestion. I like this one a lot. And this family has a 14-year-old son. He signed a cell phone contract with the carrier and this contract with his parents. That was the deal. You don't get the cell phone unless you sign this contract. Remember, you set the rules. So they talked about it together. They signed it together, and then they posted it in his room. I love that. Okay, here it is. Rule number 1. It's our phone. We bought it. We pay for it. We are loaning it to you. Aren't we great? Okay? Number 2, we will always know the password. Number 3, if it rings, answer it. Say hello and use good manners. Never ignore a phone call if the screen reads mom or dad. Hand the phone to one of your parents before bed every night. Excuse me. Remember what I said about pornography happening at night? So what would it look like for your kids to unplug their phones and they charge them in your bedroom? Okay? If it falls in the toilet, smashes on the ground, or vanishes in thin air, you're responsible for its replacement or repairs. That teaches them responsibility. If they break it and you buy them a brand new iPhone, they're not learning anything. You got to say, hey, you broke it. It's going to be a cracked screen until the next contract's up. Okay? Put it away in public. Church, restaurants, movie theaters, when you are with other people. You're not a rude person, so don't let your cell phone change that. It's good. Do not use your phone to lie to, fool, or deceive another human being. Do not involve yourself in conversations that are hurtful to others. Be a good friend first. Do not text, email, or say anything through this device that you would not say in person. That would save a lot of problems, wouldn't it? No porn. Nothing you wouldn't want your mother to see. Do not send or receive pictures of your private parts or anyone else's private parts. Don't laugh. Despite your intelligence, someday you might be tempted to do this. It is risky and could ruin your life. Take pictures, but don't forget to live out your experiences. Keep your eyes up. See the world happening around you. Stare out a window. Listen to the birds. Take a walk. Leave your phone home sometimes and be okay with that decision. Learn to live without it. 13, download music that is new or classic or different from what your peers listen to. Your generation has access to music like never before in history. Take advantage of that gift. Expand your horizons. Play a game with words or puzzles or brain teasers every now and then. The last one, you will mess up. We will take away your phone. We will sit down and talk about it. We will start over again. We will always be learning. We will show you grace. We are on your team. We are in this together. Isn't that a beautiful thing? What a cool thing is sit down with your kid and say, will you agree to this? Because we care about you and we want to set some boundaries. Okay? So I hope this is helpful to you. I know that in 45 minutes it's hard to, we didn't even get into like Snapchat. We didn't get into some of the social media things. But my hope is over the next year or so, we're going to be doing some different things on Facebook. I'm looking at doing some kind of like Facebook Live technology classes for parents that we'll do online that you can check on your own, and doing some things over the next few years through our family ministry here at the gathering. So by no means was this conversation have to end here, but would love to know, again, I got an elementary kid. Teach us what you're doing. If it's working, we can all do this together. All right? Cool? I'll stick around for a few minutes if you have any questions or comments. You're free to go, but I'll stick around for a few minutes if you want to have a conversation about something specific. Thanks for coming, guys. Appreciate it.
One thing.
Yes, ma'am.
FaceTime made it easy for my daughter to make a decision and go live in Australia.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because we can, her and my husband, it's like at least 3 or 4 times a week for 1 hour. We just FaceTime and
Isn't that
talk.
amazing? You can actually
Yeah.
converse from
Yeah.
another country. And it's, I mean,
It's amazing.
it is. And you can
I
see
like
them.
it.
It's like, it's even
Yeah,
like,
we can see her and she can see us.
yeah, and like I remember when I went to China for a month.
Yeah.
All I could do was call my parents for 1 minute every day because I had a minute card.
Yeah.
And I could only, to get it all in, and now you can actually sit there and see
because
them.
of the cell phone, my husband can call his brother in Ghana, and because and they have this thing. It used to be what's up, but now they're using wire, and it's no cost. It's free.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's good when you use